government moving. Mr. Chair, we think this debate needs to be realistic, we need to be practical. We think that the national pride and national interest in the feel-good situation that this country gained from focusing on the sport competition and the big event doesn't make a perfect world and perfect society where individuals on the ground will be better off in the society. So we think, Mr. Chair, the state needs to recognize on what is more important and what is more urgent at that point in time in the particular nation. So this debate is not about whether or not the sport is good or bad, Mr. Chair. This debate is about whether or not what should be a focus of the state responsibility in the critical situation that the state is facing right now. So to clash in today's debate, Mr. Chair, is there a harm coming from high priority given the sport national consciousness in national consciousness, and secondly, where all factors in democratic society best uphold its responsibility to solve the problem that exists under the status quo. So on the first clash, they say that this kind of sport is actually give the avenue to the country, for example, in Argentina. Ladies and gentlemen, if that's the case, right? If that's the case, why there are still so many economic problems, economic downturn still exist in Argentina under the status quo? And secondly, Mr. Speaker, Argentinian people still not aware of the problem that exists under the status quo because the state attention is now focused on the stadium, on the football and things like that. Because they say like even if this kind. If the stadium is give a value to a state a lot, so they give an attention to this kind of thing, and in Argentina people still not like be aware of the problem under the status quo, right? And moreover, they say that look about the problem of the South Africa is not about the sport, but it's about the state administration that is a problem. Yes, we agree. So that's why we debate on whether or not the state is a problem, because we don't think that the sport is a problem. The state give the wrong attention to the problem. So ladies and gentlemen, you agree that the state administration is the problem. That's why we regret. We see the contradiction in the LO speech that they say that look, this state is actually doing fine under the status quo. They give an allocation to money to all areas as well. So we don't think that what is actually your stand in this debate, whether or not in your product state is doing fine or state administration is a problem, Mr. Chair. So we don't think that there is a consistency in their case in that sense. And moreover, ladies and gentlemen, they say that look, when this kind of country hosts the sport competition, they give a lot of sponsorship. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of news say that in the South Africa they gain a lot of sponsorship true, but there is a lot of cost happening, and at the end of the day, there is no profit provided and reach the people on the ground. And secondly, Mr. Chair, we are not concerning about the capital cost that these countries are using, but there is still the human cost and national cost and things like that. So why we see there is a problem of people going on protest about why the government need to tell the world and keep the poor people out of the society and tell the world that there is no poverty happening in South Africa. So there is a harm, Mr. Chair. There is a harm happening by state putting such a high priority in this case instead of telling the people on the ground that it's a problem that everyone must share some responsibility in this case, Mr. Chair. Before we on, yes.
Sir, so in Argentina they're building stadiums. Is this the reason why Argentina is so poor, because of these stadiums?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So we think, ladies and gentlemen, instead of using money, such a big chunk of money, using building such a stadium and put an attention on sport is not actually working to solve the problem on the ground in this case. So second question, where is all party based upon its responsibility? A, they give us a question that how much priority to be given to sport. A, Mr. Chair, we think that the state media should refocus on what is more important under the status quo, what is actually urgent problem, instead of flooding with the national pride and things like that about the sport. B, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only about the media, it's about the allocation budget. Ladies and gentlemen, we give an example of South Africa that the poverty is still there, human security is still in need of day-to-day basis, Mr. Chair. But this government spend a lot of money attracting more people to come to FIFA World Cup as long as actually reaching the people on the ground, Mr. Chair. So ladies and gentlemen, we see that is look like a larger problem in that case, because we see that now state take a stand by prioritize those kind of national pride and national sport over their own people. So ladies and gentlemen, so if they say that this state is doing fine right now, why still people on the ground still go on and protest? So there is the miscommunication or misunderstanding that what this state is doing for, ladies and gentlemen. So if the state is doing fine, why still gonna happen in that case? And moreover, they say about the national interest and things like that. They give an example of the Olympic in Pakistan, India. About the Olympic, ladies and gentlemen, we don't think that they provide us an analysis that why what happened in 100 years ago will fit in the context that there is a complex problem under the status quo. And B, about the Pakistan, India, right? We agree that sport can do some certain good, like if Pakistan and India people start talking together. But ladies and gentlemen, there is still the critics still saying that there is no such a long-term solution causing by the cricket thing, Mr. Speaker. As long as there's still the Jammu Kashmir problem that Pakistan and India still try to claim in that sense, cricket is not going to solve the problem. And moreover, there is still a lot of problem exists in the India and Pakistan. The poor people still there in Pakistan and India, and we don't think that the state should put and prioritize such a cricket smaller thing to over their own problem, Mr. Chair. And moreover, ladies and gentlemen, they are people, right? They say that sport will unite the people. A, ladies and gentlemen, all united people will have absolutely no place if there is still the problem of human security on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, on the ground, we say that, for example, in the South Africa, right? So if there is a problem, people still need the money for day-to-day basis. There is still no such thing as a united people in that case, because there is exactly your paradigm is actually dividing people even more, create a conflict between the people even more. Because we don't see, Mr. Chair, that African people would say, look, I'm so proud of my country hosting FIFA World Cup, instead of thinking, why they kick me out of this ability to live and earn the money on the ground, Mr. Chair. So we don't think that the people will be proud of the national pride instead of day-to-day basis in that case. And the last idea, Mr. Chair, they say that the media need to be there because sport needs to be exposure. We don't think that that's the case, because it's not mutually exclusive, right? We still give an area for the sport to be exposure in the media, but we don't think that what is happening right now is that they flood all the big proportion in the media to lie the people. We see in the Italy, Mr. Chair, where the state owns the media and tell the people that there is no problem, state is doing fine right now, and to cover all the problem and things like that. So all the more we are proud to quote. Thank you.
Right, I thank the speaker for his speech, and we now invite the third speaker of opposition.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I have two questions to ask today. Is there high priority given by the government to sports? And the second is there too much allocation of resources to sports? Now, allow me to answer the first question. Now, on the side of the opposition, we've been very consistent throughout this debate. We believe that there is high priority given to sports, but it is justified because it doesn't overshadow all the other important issues of a country. And it doesn't diminish or block the conflicts and problems of a country. What sports also does is it allows for other fields, it opens doors to other fields. For example, this idea of national identity. Because of that national identity that these Africans or people living in developing nations, it creates motivation for them to succeed because they thrive. Look, I'm just because I'm from a particular part of a country, that doesn't mean that I can't succeed as well as the Western liberal democracies. Furthermore, on the idea of diplomacy, it mitigates tension. They argue that, in India and Pakistan, there's still tension. There's a lot of people, there's people who are poor, but yet, please sit down, they're focusing more on the fact that they both like cricket. But they don't fail to recognize that because of this interest in cricket, the tensions between these two nations are able to be mitigated. And when tension is mitigated, you're able to connect and create diplomacy and friendly ties with another nation. And again, reducing political tension between countries can help reduce the problems of a country. Okay, now furthermore, on the idea of the important issues that need to be exposed, please done. The important issues that need to be exposed by the government, for example, poverty, social and humanitarian problems, because they argue that there's too much emphasis on sports. The only thing the government is doing is just telling the world, look, this is what our country's fine because we're building stadiums. Okay, first of all, no, please sit down. In Argentina, they built. The web speaker came up and said that they are poor because they're building stadiums. Now you have to look at this in a very intuitive way. You build a stadium, you take away the land. That's bad. Okay. Now how is this building of a stadium any different than you building a shopping mall, a business center, or a building? Is it building a stadium and investing in a sport? The same thing as investing in other types of businesses. Because when you build a stadium, you hire people to operate the stadium. You hire people to maintain the stadium. And furthermore, it promotes tourism. Because people come to your country to watch sports games and it creates employment. So I don't see how it's bad that they use that land to promote investment for the future and sustainable economic growth. Furthermore, please sit down. On this idea of, they played this card of the media, that it's important for the media to expose the problems of a country. Now, are problems in a country resolved because the media reports it in a country? No. How are problems resolved? The government realizes that there is a problem and they take initiatives to overcome this problem. The government it's their prerogative and in their interest to know what is going on in the country. If not, then the people are going to get angry and they're going to lose their jobs. The government doesn't act based on what is written in the media. Just because something isn't written in the newspaper, that doesn't mean the government doesn't realize it's a problem. They have agencies, they have organizations, they have investigative bodies to go in and research what are the true problems of this country. It's not based solely what is reported in the media. And furthermore, just because sports is reported in the media, that doesn't mean that other issues aren't highlighted. Have you looked at a newspaper? There are different sections. They have sports, they have political issues, they have domestic issues, they have international issues. It's not exclusive to sports alone. Okay, now before I move on to my second issue, I'll take you're right there.
So if you say that national identity is so good, so given the fact of South Africa, so what's the point of national identity? When you still have the biggest gap between the poor and the rich in that country, what's the point of having such national identity? And we don't see this any richer by creating such big stadium. Give me example.
Okay. I don't understand the question because it wasn't very clear, but I think what he's saying is how is national identity going to solve poverty issues in the country? National identity is important because it creates motivation and it tells people to get fiery and get serious with whatever they want to accomplish in life. That's it fuels them and gives them motivation to try to strive for a goal. And because of this, they're able to perhaps work harder in school and do other areas that can eliminate their poverty positions. Okay, please sit down. I just took a POI. Okay, now I'm going to answer the second question. Is there too much allocation of resources to sports? We believe that it is not, because sports creates jobs and it boosts the economy. Because why? It is an important investment. Jobs are created. Businesses are established on the premise of sports equipment, sports facilities, sports camps. They create employment. Like I said before, the government failed to recognize sports as an important investment to boost the country's economy. Furthermore, on this idea, it opens doors to other problems of a country. The only problems that a country faces is not just how much money they have. There are other issues, for example, social issues and humanitarian issues. Because of sports, it creates a link for other people to see these issues. For example, a basketball player, he visited Africa, and because of this, he realized how malaria was such a huge problem in the society of that country. And as a result, he developed a foundation to help people combat this disease. Now, had he not visited this country, then he wouldn't have known, and many people would have died of malaria as a result. And why was he able to go there? Because of sports. Because he was a basketball player. Being a basketball player gives him the revenue and the money to be able to travel and make a difference in the world and try to overcome humanitarian conflicts. Okay, next on this issue of the country sacrifices national security because of sports. Okay, so when you're sending players to compete in international tournaments, how does this reduce the country's security? Just because you set up different bodies to help promote sports and a healthy lifestyle, your national security is diminished? I don't see the connection. There's a slippery slope argument that runs inside the government. Take, for example, the United States of America. They have a heavy emphasis on sports. They put so much funding in camps, in sports and children, and education, and yet they have the strongest military in the world. So how does promoting a good, healthy lifestyle diminish your ability to combat military strength towards another country? Okay, so, Mr. Speaker, what have we talked about today in this debate? There isn't too much emphasis on sports in a country to the extent that it blocks and it covers the important issues of a country. Because sports, it helps create the link and connection for people to realize this. Because why? Because it creates a common ground. Many people are interested in sports, and as a result, they're able to, it attracts them to certain conflicts and issues of a country. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the side of the opposition wins the debate. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for that speech. Now move to the reply portion of the debate, and as Councillor Rowe, we will start the opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, this debate is about whether the benefits of the emphasis on sports justifies the high priority given to it, and we've shown you very clearly that it does. We started off by talking about the importance of sports and how that importance would fuel all these benefits of sports. And when we talk about the many benefits, it shows the justification for the high priority, ladies and gentlemen. We've been very clear. There are 2 points of contention. First, about the proportionate control of media, and second, being about benefits and harm, ladies and gentlemen. But the government here has failed to tell us what is proportionate. They themselves admit that we're not very sure, maybe this amount, ladies and gentlemen. So they have not been given a clear stance, ladies and gentlemen. The situation now is that people want reports on sports. People determine media, because that's how media gets money, ladies and gentlemen. If the government were to stop this, ladies and gentlemen, freedom of press would be curtailed. The right of information for these individuals would be curtailed, ladies and gentlemen. They are implementing a government censorship, ladies and gentlemen. We don't think that's right on any way, ladies and gentlemen. The information also does not get neglected because of sports, ladies and gentlemen. When's the last time you bought the Macau Times, Macanese Times, and you see the whole magazine totally, the newspaper totally devoted to sports, ladies and gentlemen? No, as it is right now, sports only, there's a sports section, there are other sections for other information, ladies and gentlemen. We don't see how limiting sports would immediately make people more aware. Just because you don't have a sports section, that means immediately everyone would know about everything else? No, they did not tell us the link, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, why must the government censor media in order to stop building stadiums? Because according to them, stadiums is why Argentina is so economically depressed, ladies and gentlemen. Then why must they stop the media to do that? Since they're the government, why not they just stop building stadiums, ladies and gentlemen? Why go to the excessive force of curtailing their people's rights, ladies and gentlemen? We don't see that. Now let's take a look at the benefits and the harms. The only harm they gave us was an economic harm, the only proper harm, because we don't think that information is a tangible harm, is a tangibly sold, properly sold, ladies and gentlemen. The only harm was economic, and this is the only reason why there's economical harm is because the building of stadiums. And I've told you why that does not fly, ladies and gentlemen. We've told you how problems get highlighted with sports, ladies and gentlemen. We've told you about the oppression in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Of the poor in South Africa got highlighted because of sports. She's told you about malaria and NETs, ladies and gentlemen. And also when China started the World Cup, the Olympics in Beijing, the problem of Tibet was highlighted because of sports, ladies and gentlemen. We think they should differentiate governmental corruption and sports, because governmental corruption and sports is two different things, ladies and gentlemen. That's a problem-solution mismatch. We've talked about how sports is important physically and mentally, for team spirit, for the sake of competition and sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's take a look at our justifications, our benefits, why sports is so important to justify the level of focus given to it, ladies and gentlemen. First off, we've talked about national unity. We've told you why there's patriotism because of sports, and patriotism that removes the whole notion of race, ladies and gentlemen. In South Africa, how people can unite despite their differences to cheer on their teams, ladies and gentlemen. We've told you how sports are a form of identity. Form in China, where they identify badminton with the culture, ladies and gentlemen. How Pakistan, Bangladesh, India identifies cricket as their national sport, ladies and gentlemen. How it's an integral part of their culture, and by removing this media on an integral part of their culture, you are directly removing a part of their culture, ladies and gentlemen. You're suppressing their culture. We've talked about international interest, how the Olympics have managed to stop wars, how a football player has managed to stop war for a temporary time so everyone can see him play, ladies and gentlemen. It highlights the human instincts and human peace and love, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked about how it helps democracy, how India and Pakistan managed to sit down and talk and incentivize for peace talks, ladies and gentlemen, because of this. We talked about how sports is an outlet for common interest. We've talked about how sports helps the economy and does not return the economy because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we've talked about how it liberates people. For example, Sanya, Marsa, and the disabled, ladies and gentlemen. We think we got this thing.
Thank you very much. Final speech in this debate, and I'll invite the governor back.
Mr. Speaker, as I have told you at the very beginning, that we're not debating on whether or not the sport is good or bad. And they're actually wasting their time telling us the argument about, oh, sport is so good in that case. We accept at the very first place that sport is good in certain way, but should not be the very first priority in that case. Now let's talk about the very contradiction coming from their side and their very shaky stance in today's debate. So firstly, they talk about the word high priority coming from the first speaker, as I have POI, and then they say that, oh, sport is so good, therefore it is justified to be actually the highest priority in today's debate. And then the second speaker come up here and say, no, we're not saying that sport is actually the highest priority in that case. So they are actually, I actually asked them if it's the high by saying, are you saying that, oh, there are other issues that are more important, therefore the word high, we actually need the lowest. Then the whole case that are presenting is actually contradicting themselves. So we question you, the very shaky stance in today's debate, and you have to be clear on that case. So the very two main questions to answer in today's debate, ladies and gentlemen. So firstly, should sport be the highest priority or the high priority in national consciousness? And the second issue, whether or not who answered the issue of development of democracy or open discussion, and who actually going to, at the end of the day, solve the current situation, solve the problem that are actually hurting lives of people under the status quo. So let's talk about the first idea, whether or not the sport should be the high priority, the national consciousness. They are actually coming up here wasting their time talking about the benefits of sports. We actually agree that sport do have those kind of benefits, but we are actually focusing more on lives of people in our society. We talk about the issues of economy, we talk about the issue of national security, human security, poverty, and so far and so forth. We also talk about the allocation of budget, and we also talk about the priority in terms of the media. We question you, if you're Berlusconi, are you going to help the poor? Are you going to fund Inter Milan, AC Milan, or Roma? And if you're Obama, are you going to have actually prioritize the economy, or are you going to actually, fund LA Galaxy, LA Lakers, or New York Yankees, and so on and so forth? And if you are, David Cameron, are you going to solve the problem of the living of the people in terms of the human security, or are you going to fund and are you going to promote more in terms of Manchester United, Chelsea, and so on and so forth? We say it's very wrong for you to actually focusing more on sport in terms of you distorting the fact that under the status quo there are problems that need to be solved, that the problems that are actually affecting lives of people in your society. Now let's talk about development of democracy and how it's actually going to open the discussion to begin. And we have told you at the very beginning that we are not banning or stop the sports from being broadcast, or we do not stop at all from them for playing sport. We actually allow that to happen, but we are not going to prioritize that as the very highest or the first priority of the national consciousness in this case. We also agree on the fact that sport should also be there. In terms of that, we are actually focusing on economy, national security, and human security, poverty, so on and so forth. We talk about the idea of checking and balance, how it's going to create more ideas coming from the people in our society in order to actually solve the problem, and how it's actually going to create the idea of promoting more democracy, and how it's going to create the discussion that would at the end of the day lead to a more democratic society and lead to the solving of the problem that we are now facing. Not kicking people out from the area that are actually they're living in and build a stadium and saying that the economy is running very well, and then leave the people die out there and do nothing about them. We're actually focusing more on the issues that are affecting lives of people. With this, we take the moral background, and with this, we take the debate.
Right, excellent. Thank you very much. I invite the teams across the floor to shake hands.